Welcome back. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has wrapped up his speech in Middelburg, Mpumalanga. He was addressing the masses that came to celebrate Freedom Day. Let's cross now let's speak to Reverend Frank Chikane, who actually can tell us a bit more in terms of the 28 years that we have witnessed in terms of South Africa being a democratic nation. There are, of course, some things, Reverend, that we can celebrate. But like I keep saying, there's a lot that also keeps going wrong, and we cannot ignore that.
Well, good afternoon, and I started the morning celebrating our Freedom Day because I think it's important for those of us who come from the apartheid days. Remember, we had no rights, we're not recognized as human beings, were discriminated against. I couldn't go to the university I chose to go. People have forgotten that. Couldn't stay where I want to stay, couldn't get a job where I want to get a job or where I get a job. And so for those of us who are older, the day remains an important day because it liberated us from an apartheid system. And indeed, for the first 10 years to 15 years, there was a huge effort to change the conditions of people of life. I mean, you would remember that at one stage, by 2008, we were growing at 5.6% growth in the country. The numbers of the unemployed were dropping down, poverty was dropping, but we took a turn which worsened the situation. Now, I don't think that we should say, because things are not okay, therefore we can't celebrate our freedom. No, we need to make sure that things are okay. We got freed precisely to change the conditions of life. And if we fail, it's our failure. It's not the day of liberation.
All right, let's talk about some of those positive things, Reverend. Reverend, I mean, you are right. There's a lot that we need to celebrate. Looking at the fact that today, I probably wouldn't be working where I am right now had, those freedom fighters not gotten the freedom that we have.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, there are lots of people, black people, whose lives changed radically. In terms of women, for instance, they are able to be in all sorts of places, leadership in the police, the military, in business. It's not enough yet, but we are working towards that direction. I think what has failed is when people began to be greedy and use state resources to enrich themselves, which led us to this thing about state capture, where people in government elected to serve the people end up serving their own interest and therefore drain the resources. I mean, even the fact that water systems, pipes are not repaired so that people who have tankers can make money. I mean, it's evil. And you can go on with a number of other issues. We have a problem not because we don't have resources in this country. We have a problem because there are crooks who have got their hands into the fiscus and resources of the country to use them for their own purposes, their friends, family, etc. That's what we must stop. If there's anything we must commit ourselves to, as the people of South Africa today, is that in respect of those who died to get us this freedom, we must make sure that we change the conditions of people, pull the rug, close the taps that enrich individuals, and use all the resources to change the conditions of life of our people.
Reverend, I also want to talk about the fact that exactly what you just said now about making sure that people feel that they are free. There are people who died during the atrocities of apartheid, and they feel as though justice for their family members who have died has still not been served.
That is true, and that's what we were working towards when I was in government. I mean, we used to say everybody who paid a price must be rewarded by changing the conditions. It may not be money for each individuals, but if you change the conditions and people have jobs, people can go to school, people can qualify themselves and be able to fend for themselves. Of course, you do social welfare for those who are older who can't do much, but the younger ones you put on the rails to take care of themselves. That's what we committed ourselves to. Even when I did the War on Poverty in Soweto project, we had a plan that would take poor people and within 3 to 5 years, take them out of poverty by making sure they've got grants and where they qualify, but take the younger generation who need qualifications to help them do so. And we were able to move families out of poverty. It is possible to do it. But if we elect people who go there for their own interest and employ people who go there to serve their own interests, then we will not achieve the objectives. And so they are right. I mean, if I fought in the struggle, I'm a military veteran and I don't have food today, it's a problem. Or if I lost my parent who died during that time, we need to make sure that all those people are able to make a living.
And Reverend, I know that we cannot talk about freedom today without making reference to apartheid, of course, and I don't think we'd be able to ever not make reference to apartheid when we talk about days such as today, Reconciliation Day, Human Rights Day, etc. But, you know, for instance, what the President reminded us of during his address, of the 30,000 civil servants who, you know, registered to get the 350 Rand grant and things like that. For instance, people who are still expected to use pit latrines today, and government still blaming apartheid. For how long are we going to have to accept as South Africans that some things won't come my way because, unfortunately, there was apartheid?
Now, during the time I was in government, at the beginning, we used to say, we're going to make sure that everybody has water, but not everybody will get it at the same time. We're going to make sure everybody has electricity, but not everybody will get it at the same time. But 28 years later, ma'am, we can't say that anymore. I think something went wrong on the way, and the resources that are supposed to do that are not doing what we're supposed to do. So that's why I'm saying that the people of South Africa must make the decision that we're going to make sure those who are criminals get out of the way, and those who steal people's money get out of the way, and that we make sure that the resources of the country are used for the people who deserve to get them. So we can't say to people, be patient. You know, I think we have the right to be impatient, but of course we don't have to be impatient and be violent and attack ordinary poor people and think we are liberating ourselves. That's counter-revolutionary. We need to use our energies to change the conditions of our people.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us here on All Angles. Reverend Frank Chikane, speaking the truth there about the fact that we can no longer today still say we aren't getting services because there was apartheid. That simply can no longer be an excuse.